Okay, so before we get into the actual rogue core part of this, I want to briefly dote on something that has nothing to do with rogue core, actually, as it turns out, because this is a post on the actual Deep Rock Steam page. And I don't have a problem with this, by the way, them talking about the board game, right? Because, frankly, of course, the board game doesn't have its own Steam page, right? Sure. It's just that I'm just pointing out the fact that while this is here, does not mean I'm going to cover it. If I need to reiterate anything, it's that it's from a news perspective. On Barrel Vision, I cover news about about the video games developed by Ghost Ship Games. Currently, that is Deep Rock Galactic and Deep Rock Galactic Rogue Core. And also Ghost Ship Games' newsletter. That does obviously often touch on things in Ghost Ship Publishing, but it is Ghost Ship's newsletter. Those are the kind of the three things that I talk about. And of course, sometimes it's not necessarily news, like Below Decks, for example. I don't know when the last Deep Rock Below Decks was. A while ago. Below Decks is also, I mean, it's got a news tag as far as it goes, like Steam post categorization. But also it's about the game. It's kind of cool, that kind of stuff as well. So those kind of more specific posts. This is about the board game. The only reason I want to bring it up is because of this fella right here. In fact, I think it's best to. I wonder if I could find it. Oh wait, no, it's a quite specific trailer. So I'm actually going to open this image up in a new tab. This guy, this is called, was it the Shockworm? Yeah, the Shockworm. This is an original creature for the board game. I'm only pointing out, and now this is not weird, by the way, because there is the Glyphid Rammer. That's a thing that's in the board game that's not in the main Deep Rock game. I think some people were expecting it to maybe be added for Season 5, like alongside the Stalker. I think that would have been fair. I think they were right that it doesn't actually fulfill a particularly unique role, because it's kind of just a blend of like the Oppressor and the Shellback, and much in the same way this thing could easily be a very Shellback-esque creature, like a Shellback mixed with like a Shocker or something. Still, I think it's a really cool design, and this is the kind of creature that I would love to see Ghost Ship themselves adopt for, honestly, either game, either Rogue Core or Deep Rock specifically, but like, you know, Season 6 or another Deep Rock update will happen at some point. Love to see this guy in it. Either way, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the third update to Rogue Core's closed alpha. Also, in the same way, the third playtest. So they're sending out more updates, or sending out more invites, because an update to the current version of the game has happened. So let's talk about it. Also, by the way, it is actually my birthday. Maybe, I don't know if that's worth saying. If anyone would like to wish me happy birthday, that is completely up to you. You don't have to. Do not worry. But it would be really nice. Don't worry. I'm not like... I'm not wasting the day away. Well, I am currently, but don't worry, going out for dinner later. Hopefully doing something later in the month, well, with other people, but whatever, it's not the point. But it is my birthday, so, you know. But let's get into this post about the third update for the closed alpha to Rogue Core. Hello, Reclaimers. We've just gone live with closed alpha update 3, which means the third playtest has begun. It also means another round of playtest invitations. I'm sending them out now, and you'll receive a message via email and Steam notifications if you've been selected. So as far as I can tell, I haven't. We're trying our best to send out more invites each time, but due to the sheer number of folks signed up for access, it's still only going to be a small share of people getting selected. Here are a couple things we've added for this update, but this list is far from conclusive, because the actual list of like basically patch notes is not something that I'm privy to. And I'm not even sure if I would really be allowed to cover those, because basically, to have access to the patch notes for what is actually in-game at the moment, you do need to be part of the actual playtests. So I kind of just straight up don't have access to those patch notes, and even if I did, I'm not sure that they would really be too thrilled about me covering them. But obviously this is far more public, so let's just go through this. They've added some new Expedite events with improved visuals, UI, and networking on existing events. Expedite events are a very broad category in Rogue Core, mainly because the way that you get the Expedite from them varies greatly. Sometimes it's like digging in the walls, like literally for like a quark or something. There's one that is a bulk detonator, like an Expedite bulk detonator, like hooked up to a machine, and you need to let it out and kill it. And it basically, it's like a Crassus, but with Expedite, basically. So it creates an Expedite crater. Spherical crater, by the way. Or even one of the newer ones, which looks really cool, which is like the biotransmuter. That's definitely not the exact term that you use, but basically it's like a zone where enemies killed within the zone, their like essence is sucked up to form an X-Men like crystal, and like basically how much that crystal is worth is like dictated by how many enemies you killed inside the zone. It looks really cool. I'm not sure what the new ones that they've added for this update, but I have definitely seen the visual improvements, especially on that bulk detonator one. They've first of all really upped the design on like the thing that's containing it. It looks really cool, and the bulk detonator itself is like definitely a much more unique design. It was basically just a shiny green bulk detonator before. One could arguably confuse it with a radioactive bulk detonator, if that existed. Anyway, they've also added a new end screen with interface to examine players' builds and statistics. I have seen that; it looks very cool. So that was actually what's talked about in the previous development diary, not that one. This, and by the way, so this is kind of this is a mock-up for it. It basically does look like this. I've seen it in game. It looks pretty much exactly like this. The only thing that's really missing is the background. The background is not like this. This would be original to Rogue Core. What's being shown here, it's still literally the Deep Rock end screen sort of environment. That needs to change. That's the kind of thing that you can't let go through, because that really breaks the breaks the illusion that you're, not playing something that's built on top of Deep Rock. Not that the illusion is like that you're not playing Deep Rock. Of course, you're not playing Deep Rock. You're playing Rogue Core, but it is still built on the foundation of Deep Rock, and those are the kind of things that really spoil that. You shouldn't have something that is literally exactly the same. And I know it will change. I'm only addressing it because they, did something major in terms of addressing what the end screen looks like, but that part of it is still the same as it is in Deep Rock. So I do think it's worth pointing out. I'm not saying they're not thinking about it. It's just that they've done something significant to the end screen anyway, and that part is still the same. So I still think it's worth mentioning. Anyway, loads of UI/HUD tweaks and improvements. That is also correct. The upgrade screen specifically has changed a lot with sort of the icons. I think they overall look better. I don't know if they're necessarily finalized, but they definitely look better. In fact, I should be able to show you. Okay, that's actually quite useful. This pretty much shows you everything. So this is what the end screen looks like actually. In Rogue Core, I'll first of all go back a few seconds. So yeah, as you can see, it's the same environment as you are in the Deep Rock one, which doesn't make sense to me, but you can see these are what the upgrade icons now look like, even when you're selecting them. The Hurricane's in the game now as well, so there's sort of some things like that. Anyway, bug fixes and stability adjustments. Still going to be some crashing though. Good. I do remember reading through the FAQ on like the main Rogue Core Steam page, and there is clearly like an approach here, an intention for. While it's not necessarily going to be feature complete, Rogue Core will, because obviously they want to be updating it after launch. Rogue Core will still be very, very polished and substantial on the early access launch, and I do think that probably has something to do with the fact that they're probably going to start working on a Deep Rock update after Rogue Core comes out. But it doesn't change the fact it's very good that they clearly have a very high focus on technical integrity and feature completeness. They're adding a lot of features for like game longevity and variety, and they're also doing a lot of stuff just to help the game be more stable and polished. It really genuinely looks great so far. I'm really happy with everything I've seen from Rogue Core. Anyway, enemy balance and behavior fixes, not really able to speak on that too much. Lots of tweaks and additions to Cooper, the single player drone upgrades. As far as I can tell, Cooper still looks like Bosco. That is not the intention. So Cooper is the Bosco of Rogue Core. He is the drone that would accompany you if you're playing solo. And I'm assuming that the plan is still to change the design, because he still currently looks like a Bosco. If they weren't going to change the design, I would say they wouldn't have given him a different name, basically. So I'm sure Cooper's design will change, but I have also seen this, where Reich? Why did I say Reich? I said Reich instead of like. That is really bad. But where you are playing solo and you are selecting upgrades, basically each upgrade will have something above it that is the corresponding Cooper upgrade. And they actually seem to be unique. I don't know if they're random or not, so maybe they correspond to the upgrades in sort of weird ways, where it's like, you do kind of need to think about the upgrades you're taking in terms of what you're getting, what you're giving to Cooper, or at the very least, it will create variety. Even if you don't think about what the Cooper upgrade is that you're selecting, it's still going to give him a variety of upgrades. So even the single player drone like companion sounds more fleshed out than Deep Rock's, which is kind of cool. And I do think that is like just a massive source of opportunity for rogue core is for not necessarily for them to match deep rock systems and improve upon them, but to basically have them be more polished and whatever rogue core systems are, whether they are similar to deep rocks or not, for them to be more intentional and polished in a long-term context. Like, I'm kind of expecting the meta progression of rogue core to be a bit more envisioned than deep rocks has been. I mean, not that I have a problem with how deep rock has gone in terms of progression, but for example, it was only with season 5 that we got the ultimate sort of pinning down of long-term progression, which is infinite promotions, right? After Legendary 3. I'm kind of expecting rogue core to have that kind of thing built into its DNA on at least on 1.0 launch, basically is what I should say. I shouldn't say early access. Early access is still early access, but certainly on 1.0 rather than, Season 5 is essentially Deep Rock's final update for the time being. Anyway. Additions and rebalancing to a bunch of player upgrades. That is true. I've seen some more upgrades as well. I mean, it's going to continue to be a thing. You definitely do see repeats from what I've seen, but at the same time, there is also a massive variety. I think it's just because some are intrinsically rarer than others. I think that there is definitely variety, like crit chance, for example, is one that has like a variety of rarities. But I think some upgrades, in fact, maybe most, are set rarities because of just what they represent. And they don't necessarily have different versions. Therefore, you're going to encounter more of the sort of uncommon and common upgrades than you are the sort of rare and above, right? So that kind of makes sense. Anyway, new elevator startup sequence plus the cocoon jail thing for dwarves abandoned on previous stages. It's just a link to the it's linked to the development diary, but I think they do show it. So yeah, it was this thing, and it's also kind of in the main like graphic for this playtest post. But yeah, this is a really cool thing that happens basically when a teammate is left downed. I think they have to be downed. Actually, maybe it's just... I think it's literally anyone left behind. Basically, when you use the elevator at the end of the stage. They will appear in the next stage in this basically cocoon that will also attack players with tendrils, and you sort of break them out of it. I'm not sure how the breaking out happens. I assume that you need to kill the tentacles that are attacking you, but I think it's mainly probably shooting these parts, these glowing parts, I think. Because basically there's a dwarf inside here, this shell thing. I think it's kind of cool. Definitely something you need to keep like an eye on balance-wise, because it could easily sort of throw the beginning of a run. At the same time, the beginnings of runs are fairly peaceful, and that's kind of your punishment for leaving someone behind, is that you no longer have a peaceful start to the stage, basically. That's kind of my read on that. More ragdolls and dismemberment, something which has just been addressed in Deep Rock, by the way, with hit reactions and sort of glyphid limbs flying off. That hasn't been the case for like 3 years or something. Anyway, a full list of additions, tweaks, and improvements for this update will be available in-game as well as in Discord. You can read more about a few of the new features in the June development diary too. Exactly. So like I said, the actual patch notes are in-game or on the Discord if you're in the playtest. I'm pretty sure. I don't see any section on the Discord that is, Rogue Core Alpha patch notes. Anyway. If you have questions about how the closed alpha or how playtest invites work, refer you to our handy old FAQ. And yes, this will be linked in the description as well. Anyway, kind of wrap this up. The Ghost Ship Games office is headed off on summer holidays now, so this is the last closed alpha update for a few weeks. We'll pick back up on development when we return, well rested and moderately sunburnt in August. I hope everyone's having a nice summer so far. Remember to eat plenty of ice cream, rock and stone. I haven't really had any ice cream yet. I had a couple, but not like a proper one. You know what I mean? Like Mr. Whippy. Anyway, so yeah, that is everything in definitely not everything, but that is the gist of the Rogue Core Alpha Update 3. Obviously, I find it somewhat nebulous who this is useful for, if you know what I mean. I think that's fair to say. I'm very self-aware in that manner, because if you're playing Rogue Core, if you were in the closed alpha, you kind of know all this. You're probably playing it every day, or at least very often. But maybe this is going to let some people know. But really, in my opinion, why I make these videos specifically, yes, it is Rogue Core news. That is the core of why I make it. But also, maybe it just helps give some introspection and maybe help build excitement for people who are not privy to the closed alpha, such as myself. Because it definitely does make me more excited. Just the idea of all this stuff that they're adding at this pretty impressive pace in a version of the game that we do not have access to. I find that quite entertaining. But yes, that is it. If you enjoyed this, find it useful, please make sure to like and subscribe. If you want to see more stuff like this and you want to stand up for everything to deep rock and roadcore, please make sure to hit the bell. I will, of course, see you on Tuesday with the next Overclock showcase, unless something else comes up, because I think I've done like multiple videos now this week, actually. Where I would have said the same thing, like see you on Tuesday, and then something else comes up. Who knows? They only have one chance to do it though, which is tomorrow. Something else on Friday. Either way, that's all for today. I'm going to quickly check my emails to make sure I don't have a closed alpha invite. Nope. Check spam. Nope. Anyway, alright. See ya.